Hey everybody, tonight we're going to be talking about the GAO Studio Rich Candy V2. I'm calling it the V2 because it is just like the Rich Candy, which is normally sold in POM or nylon, but it is different. It's thinner, it's a little smaller, more compact, and it's made out of stainless steel. I imagine that this will be coming out in other materials as well. So this is pretty new. I've only found one store, and it's XGEDC store on AliExpress. But we'll go into details here in a little bit. To do the usual, we'll take it apart. There's a trick to taking this apart. If you've watched my video on the version 1 of this, or just the Rich Candy, the nylon one, I have an orange one. I'll bring it out here in a minute. I'll show you. We'll be doing the same trick. And it is a trick, believe me. So please stick around. Well, before we get into anything, let's just play with a little bit here. It is a 3-level mechanical slider, and like I said, it is basically built along the same lines as the original. This has 6 clicks, or 3 and 3, or this has 6 and 6, or 12 in both directions. They both operate the same way. This one, much thicker. We'll do a comparison in a minute, but wanted to show you that quickly. There is a history behind these Rich sliders, and for whatever reason they like to call them Rich coins. I don't know why, but either way, the first one that came out was this thing. I call it the V1, and it's in polycarbonate. And after that came out this thing, and it is only available, I believe, in stainless steel, maybe brass. About $55, I think. I'm not interested in it too much because it's very much the same thing as this, just metal. And for $55, I've seen more impressive mechanical pieces for less than $50. And I've kind of moved on. Maybe your ball sliders are your thing, and magnetic sliders are your thing. I've kind of drifted away from that into mechanicals. So you may be interested in something like that. I'm going to pass on it just because I have this and I understand how it operates, and I just feel like it would be the same thing, just in metal. So that's the V1. That would be the V2. Then what I called, probably improperly, the V3 was a mechanical / magnetic hybrid. And it really shouldn't be used as both at the same time. You either need to set it up in the mechanical method that I have now, or the magnetic mode. Either way, it works. It's interesting. I probably should try to put the Teflon tape that goes on here because it's pretty sticky and pretty slippery. But it's a very nice mechanical slider. It's a little bit sloppy. Again, the main feature of this is that it can be either mechanical or magnetic, and magnetic is an interesting sensation, and I'm really tempted. I think I'm going to buy another one of these. This is stainless steel. That was a little bit more pricey. I think that the stainless steel ones are probably around $75 maybe, and you can get the aluminum ones for about $60 now. And I might get an aluminum one and just set it up to be magnetic so that I have one of each at the ready. But I called that the V3, and I don't know if that was appropriate or not. Then came along, they kept the Rich name, but they called it the Rich Candy, and they offered it in orange and yellow, POM, or nylon, and of course the middle is Teflon. In this case, the middle is POM. And it's actually quite sticky when you try to put any pressure on it. So they might have been better off making this one have nylon inserts. Either way, this has a nylon insert, and I neglected to say that I taped over the magnets that are on this one. And the fact that this one works pretty well as a free-floating slider. Yeah, this thing can be found for under $10. So anyhow, we don't want to do a complete re-review of everything, I wanted to show you the history of where these things came from. This, like I said, was a new shape, a new design, 3 levels, mechanical. They called it the Rich Candy, and not too long ago, one of the stores on AliExpress, the XGEDC store, do I have that right? XGEDC store, yes, came out with a stainless steel version of the candy, and they're selling it right alongside the candy, but they didn't call it anything different, so I'm going to call it the Candy V2, because it is truly different. It's a little bit smaller, just the tiniest bit smaller in width, I think, and in height, and then of course in thickness. And I don't think that the parts would be interchangeable. The middle piece looks a little bit thinner. So they are almost the same size. Just a lot, this one's a lot thicker than this. And when I ordered this, you couldn't tell from the photographs. I was totally expecting to get one thick like this, not like this. And that was a surprise that I think is very positive. So also, let's just quickly, while we're here, compare these in size, in case you happen to have those, but those two happen to come out to be about the same whenever they're extended. This is a little bit taller. Wider. And this thing, I don't have the balls in it right now, but that's about where it would be if it was extended the whole way. Okay, now a couple things that you're familiar with, more likely. The top B, and the Mackie CP3. Now, lastly, when I did this one, I found that an ordinary paper clip was enough to do the job. And the trick was to get something down in here, because what we're aiming to get at is a pin. Well, we'll call it a pin, but it's actually the limiting mechanism. And it's a spring with 2 balls. And we're just going to try to push one of those balls down long enough in order to slide this top piece off. And you do that by poking something in there. With this orange big nylon one, a thin paper clip, let's see what the diameter of that is. That might be helpful to you. 0.7 millimeters. But I tried to bend it around in a way that it didn't interfere too much. You want to get it in there to where you can feel you can hear it hit the metal bearing on the inside. And then you sort of push on it and get that thing to go down. I'll show you a drawing in a minute. But we're going to be doing the same thing here, and I started to do that with this one, but it was too tight. This is fairly too thick. The entrance is a bit smaller, you'll see, on this one than this one. And you really shouldn't have to take these apart if you don't have to. This one, when it comes in, I feel like I had to take it apart because here's something I forgot to mention right off the bat too. When the version 1 of this was sold, it was designed to have stronger springs on one side and weaker springs on the other side, which led to a really awkward user experience. And the first thing I did, because there's 2 springs on each side, was balance it out by taking the whole thing apart and putting a soft spring on the hard side and a hard spring on the soft side, and just flipping 2 of them around. And that balanced it out. And then later I went back and found 4 springs that were all the exact same and put them in here. So it is worth taking apart and learning how to take apart. And with this one, I felt like you really have to, because it's awkward to have one side soft and one side harder. But this one came fairly well equalized. One side is not intended to be stronger than the other side. I just went through all that discussion about how I like things to come down in an order, and how sometimes a wrapped slider like this makes it difficult to control from the sides. But this one is thin enough that you can actually wrap your finger down here a little bit and slow down that middle part. And that makes this one even a little bit easier to use than some of these other ones that are wrapped. Anyhow, the paperclip was a bit too thick for this one. Worked okay for that one, but a little bit too thick for this one. So I found a pin. The pin, let's just check it. Pin is 0.61 millimeters. Now, that might help a little bit, but probably what helps more is about where I put a bend in it. And that was at about 30 millimeters. So use your own judgment there. You want to try to get this thing to go in as smooth as possible, because I'll show you. Actually, here's the side I want to go in on. Let me try to focus on that for you. Right in the middle there, hopefully in a reflection, you will eventually see that I slightly damaged the soft Teflon. And that was from me. It was probably from when I was using that paper clip. And you'll see when I move things over here now, that was from me going in here like that and forcing my way in. Now this pin is a lot better than that paper clip. It seems a little forceful at first, but then it pops right in, and then it's kind of loose. And the object is to push on a ball that's in there, and I can just tell that it's there because it's loose and I can feel it hitting a little bit. But let me just pause right here. I did a drawing whenever I explained how this limiting mechanism works on this model. I did a little quick sketch, and rather than me try to redraw that sketch, let's just cut to that quick and then we'll come right back to this. So we have like 3 layers, and this represents this layer, the middle part represents the middle layer, and the bottom part represents this layer. And there's a pin of some sort. Like I said already, we know that it's 2 springs, 1 spring with a ball on both sides. If I haven't said that, that's what I'm about to show you here. And that's how they're able to get it apart and put it back together again. I don't think that it was necessarily intended for us to be taking it apart, because they didn't include instructions and it's not perfectly clear. But what you have then is a hole through the middle part, and then across the top here we have this cutout, which is the track, so to speak. And there's a ball here and a ball here, and there's a spring connecting the 2. So we're going to be coming in from the side in this little space right here. Our little toothpick, see if I can draw, not a toothpick, our little paper clip is going to come in, and we're going to push in that direction, and we're going to force that ball to go down just far enough that we can finish sliding it the rest of the way off. We just need to get that ball pushed out of the way or started, and then once it's out of the way far enough, this thing will slide right off, and you'll put your finger over top of it here to keep the springs and balls from flying out. But I'll show you that here when we get to it. Okay, so we're going to be doing the same thing here. Like I said, this pin seems to work pretty good. I did damage that Teflon earlier, so I don't want to take the sharp end of that pin and dig it into the soft Teflon. I do want to try to orient it, if possible, in an upward manner, as I tried to show in that drawing there. But while I'm doing that, I'm going to apply, I'm holding it here, and I'm applying some pressure here, because when I push that spring in and the ball pops in, this top part is going to slide free. Now this is a little bit like lock picking. We'll see how lucky we get. There we go. There we go. Now you have to be careful, because as I slide this off, it's going to expose the balls and springs. There we go. As I lift my finger off of there, you'll find 3 balls and 3 springs. In this case, they are all, I believe, 3mm balls. Roughly 3mm balls. On this, you have 3mm balls for the outside, for the springs, for the detents, but the middle one is a bigger 4mm ball. And I think that's one of the reasons this big, thicker paper clip with a blunt end worked better on this, and this sharp pin at just the right length worked better on this. See, when we were in there with the pin, we were in here like this, and that's how that worked. So that's how it comes apart. And now both sides are actually kind of dangerously loose right now. Let's do this. Here we go. Now there's still 2 springs and 2 balls on the opposite side. So I can go over here, put my thumb over it, and slide this off the rest of the way. We can dump all those out. Now, there was a difference. I lost track here a little bit. That feels like the middle spring. There was a difference between the middle spring and the other 4 springs. There, that feels softer, 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 softer. This one actually looks like it might be a millimeter longer than the rest of them, and it feels a little stiffer. So that is going to be our middle spring. I'm sorry about that. Well, it really doesn't matter which way you put this back together again, because both of these sides are symmetrical. So that should not be a problem. Let's record, let's record the diameter of these one more time. 2.88. So I imagine 3mm balls might work there. My calipers are messed up. These are not good calipers from Harbor Freight. I need to invest in a good set. Yeah, we're at about 2.87. That's close to 3. I'm happy with how this feels right now, so I'm not going to go changing it out. But if you want to change it out, you're going to have to learn how to take it apart like this. So I do see little flecks of Teflon in there, like it's maybe that could be left over from machining. But everything here seems to be in pretty good order. I haven't done too much damage. Right there are the marks that I've made. That's visible in the reflection. Not bad. So let's put her back together again. Just slide this piece together. We'll start with that middle, nope, the middle spring. Here's something to keep in mind. You can see through on the middle hole. So the middle hole goes all the way through. What you want to do is drop a ball down in there first, and then the spring, and then a ball. If you forget to put a ball in first and you put this whole thing back together again, as soon as you push it, that spring is likely going to get caught on something and bent out of shape. But these holes, the other 2 holes are for the detents, and we have to do each side separately, so we'll do this side first. Whoops. I should have gotten my tweezers. I'm going to be stubborn about it. not hit my tweezers. All right, now we can just put this, it has to slide back on, a little dovetail shape there. You need to push these down with your fingers, with your finger, and then pop those over. Now I can flip the whole thing over. Now we don't want to open it up the whole way. Actually, it won't open the whole way, will it? I've made a grave mistake. See, I've locked the pin in there now. I didn't make a grave mistake. I can take it back apart. I closed it up before I put the other side on. Let's see what that's like. Oh, it is kind of interesting. I mean, if you didn't want any haptic, if you just wanted that to slide back and forth, that would be kind of interesting, I suppose. Well, let's see. There's the side that I've been doing some damage to, so let's just keep using that same area. Put this back in. This will be practice for us all. I'm holding it again like this, pushing it from behind like that, and we'll do a little lock picking action. There we go. Slide those puppies off. Now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to think about it for a second. Okay, I literally paused and thought about it for about 3 or 4 seconds. What needs to be done first is not the middle part. What we want to do is just the 2 outside pieces. Now that's the middle spring. I want to keep that separate from the other 4 springs. What we want to do first is put in the 2 outer springs on this side, just this side. This is only the, third, maybe the 3rd time I've taken this apart. Now we'll put the other piece back on. Now we'll flip it over. Now since those 2 springs and balls are on the opposite side and the springs do not go the whole way through, there's no danger at all in taking the top back off. So now we can put in the other 2 springs and balls for the detents and our special, stronger, taller middle spring. Actually, once again, don't put that in until you drop a ball down in there. Put that in place. Now we can just put all our balls in place because they're all the same size. Okay, now it's just a matter of sliding everything back together again. Now, I didn't pay attention to which way my logos were facing. It doesn't really matter to me. I'll just push those 3 down, slide it back over, and now we're back in business. We can weigh it and measure it. Let's do that. There are no magnets in this, so that will not affect the scale. Stainless steel, 55. Like I said, I'll be surprised if this doesn't come out in a variety of different materials, and I think it'll be well worth it. Let's go for dimensions here, some rough dimensions. 48 millimeters tall, 22 millimeters wide, and 11 millimeters thick. When it's fully extended, we are at 73. There you go. I don't think I have anything else to say about this. Once again, because it's magnetic, because it's not magnetic, because it is springs, because it is mechanical, one side is going to be stronger than the other side, so you may have to flip it over, flip it around in your hand until you find which one suits your mood at that moment. And as I always say, it's worthwhile learning how to take these apart just so you can tune them. And then you could, like I said, 3mm springs. That means 3mm balls. That means 3mm springs. You can probably find those in different lengths in your other different toys. You could try taking those apart, mixing and matching, and see what happens. So this one is a winner. Definitely a winner. This one, also a winner. Now this one, still going for about $30. This one, going for about $50. I think they're both worth having, but this is definitely worth having. I've only seen it one place so far. XGEDC store on AliExpress. Tell them I sent you. Alright, if you have any questions in the comments, let me know. I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for watching. Bye.